What's up everybody? I'm Danny with The Neighbor's Kitchen. Welcome to the channel. Appreciate you being here. So 2 years ago today, I drug home my Traeger Pro 34. So I thought perhaps tonight for dinner, I'll make my whole meal on this thing and we're gonna do a quick tour of it, a quick walk around. I'm gonna do a little bit of a product review because I love this thing. So let's check it out. All right, so 2 years, this has been right where you've seen it. I did get the cover, and I do highly recommend getting the cover if you do not have a covered area for it. So let's get this out of the way here. And I did learn that you should keep this outside. I used to keep it inside, and I don't know if you can tell or not, but this thing's been a little singed because I forgot it was in there. So, whoops. I also got this as an upgrade probably about a year ago. I would recommend doing this right off of the bat. This has been extremely helpful since I'm just rocking a patio here. So yeah, the Pro 34, I believe, means 34 inches of room for fun and activities. You got your temperature, your ambient temperature probe here. The fire pot is in the middle. I'll go ahead and show you that. Get this slid out of the way. And then we have the drip tray, which also works as a secondary heat diverter. Nice and thick. You can see after 2 years of use, it's still in good condition. And when I say 2 years of use, I would say I probably use this weekly. Multiple times in the week during the summer, obviously less in the winter. This is the main diverter. It's a little thicker steel. It's a little warped, but you know what? It's allowed to be. It goes through a lot of heat cycles. So now you can see here the inside. So if you can see, there's the auger, and there's just, it's on a it's on a servo motor. And you'll see here in just a minute, we're going to set the temperature that we desire. And down at the bottom there, see if I can get you guys in, is the element. That's what ignites everything. Here's the hopper pellet. It goes down to the auger, and when the probe senses that it's too cool in here, the auger goes faster. Once it gets up to temperature, it stops or slows down. Not a very sophisticated system, but it doesn't have to be, and it works very well. So let's go ahead and get this put back together. This just slides in here. It's indexed. You can see the little tabs. This goes in like so. You can see it's at an angle, so it goes into the grease pot. And as you can see, if you forget about the grease pot when you're putting on your cover, that's how you get your patio to taste like beef. So get this slid in here. And we are ready to cook. Whoa, excuse me 1 second. All right, so I brought a baked potato. I'm gonna put it in the middle here. And that'll be the longest thing that we cook today. All right, so I don't know if you can see in the camera or not, but that's what pellets do when they swell up, when they get wet. So there's a lot of power in there. So what we're gonna do here, and apparently I left mine switched to on since the last time I cooked, but it's still on the shutdown cycle thing. So what you're gonna do is make sure that you are switched to on, and then you're gonna hit the smoke setting. Right like that. And what it's doing is it's sucking pellets through the auger while heating up the element, which ignites the pellets. And you do want to, for the ignition cycle, you leave the lid closed. Once this reaches 170, 180, somewhere up there, that's when we go set our desired temperature. So let me get you guys rearranged here a little bit. Let's talk about this thing. All right, so I'm gonna be very candid with you guys. For years, I actually made fun of pellet smoker guys because I was like, hey man, that's cheating, not cool. I had an old-fashioned Texas style offside smoker, and it was a really neat way to get into barbecuing. But now that I've kind of been converted, I have to say it's not cheating. So what happened was I was at Home Depot, obviously 2 years ago on this day, and they were selling for a wonderful discount every one of these that they had already assembled. You see it's starting to smoke. So we got some smoke coming out of the lid and some smoke coming out of there. So we're having a successful ignition. That's great. So we got, I don't remember what I paid for this, but it was so much of a discount. There was no way I was not coming home with it. And I had the guys help me load it in the back of my truck because it wasn't in a box, it was already assembled. I couldn't find anybody around to help me get it out of my truck, so I kind of did some janky stuff, hurt my back a little bit, blew out an ACL, whatever, worth it. So started cooking on it, immediately fell in love. I believe my first meal was a New York strip. Just smoked it. Ironically, I think that's what we're making on it tonight, along with a potato baked and some bacon wrapped asparagus. It's gonna be great. I've only had one error with this. I had a LER error, and that stands for low error or low temperature. It's when you have a failed ignition. So I never fully figured out what happened when I got that error. I believe it was because it was a very, very wet, humid month, and perhaps my pellets were just a little bit too, not expanded as if they actually got wet, but perhaps it was so humid they still absorbed some moisture. Because I took everything apart, it was not overly dirty, there was not excess ash, there wasn't, I don't know. I got the error without ever knowing why it happened, but it was the only time it's ever happened, so I'm okay with that. The only thing that I kind of have that's a complaint about this is the probe. So this actually has two probes that you can read on here. You stick it in your meat, it goes through this little hole here. It is way off. I'm actually in a Traeger owners, it's getting warm, a Traeger owners Facebook group, and they have all said the same thing. And apparently there's some sort of calibration that you can do on these Pro 34s, but I don't want to have to add an extra step every time I go to cook something where I need that probe. So I have just opted to bypass the onboard probe sensing units, and I go with my ThermoPro twin temp spike, and I love it. I can capture that data on my phone and actually make charts and graphs, and I kind of like keeping track of your golf game to see what your handicap is. I can keep track of chuck roasts and briskets and chickens, and I can go at 225 per pound. Here's where my handicap is, if you will. Works great, but that's not what this video is about. So the LER error, the probe are the only two things I found about this unit that I'm kind of against. As you can see if I turn this on, I have a stone patio. It's falling apart, as you can see. So I got some camping leveler blocks on it, and then actually over here, don't look at my mess, I have some shims. I just tried to get it as close to level as possible, because sometimes I'll throw my cast iron skillet on here. I don't know why I keep putting my hand there. Whew. Sometimes I'll put my cast iron skillet on here for making breakfast. I've done cornbread in here. I've done breakfast casseroles. So you need that level if you're putting something in as a liquid or a batter and you just want it to cook evenly. And you know, you really want your stuff level. This patio, I really like my area out here. I've done a terrible job keeping it groomed this summer. One day I'd really like to build a barbecue shack. So yeah, this thing has been wonderful. My last cook on this was an 18-hour cook. So these things are very efficient. I think I filled it up a little bit just to be cautious, but I want to say it was only down to about here when I woke up in the morning. I put a 12-pound, that's trimmed. It started out 19 pounds. I put a 12-pound trimmed brisket on at 8 p.m. It came off right around, I don't remember, 18 hours later. I rested it in a cooler for 3 hours, and it was the most wonderful brisket I've ever done. That method, I highly recommend. Do the same exact thing for a pork shoulder. Make pulled pork. Yep, you're gonna love it, I promise. I wish I knew then what I know now. This is a little bit excessive of a size for most of the stuff that I do. I have never filled this up all the way. And that's not really a complaint, but hear me out for a minute. I was doing some snooping around at Home Depot, taking the assembled Traegers apart and just kind of poking my eyes at them. They all appear to have the same exact size firebox. Did you know that? I didn't know that. So, if you look at the ambient temperature data on one of my videos where I captured that and turned it into a graph, this has a high fluctuation of ambient temperature. And that's fine. That's the way that it's supposed to work because it's not a constant temperature like a propane grill. It probably looks the same if you captured that data from an offset smoker. It's not constant heat. When you put more fuel in, it's going to spike the temperature. It's going to slowly come down. You're going to need to add more wood. Put more wood in, spikes up, comes back down. And this does the same thing, so I get it. However, I also have a Traeger Ranger that I keep in my camper, and that same data from that is very much tighter. And I think it's just because it's a smaller area. So, not a complaint, but it is what it is. I will say, if I want 225, I usually set my dial to 250 degrees just because of that dip. It usually averages out. If I set it to 250, the average is about 230, and that's way closer. Still getting plenty of smoke flavor, so that's a win. Sometimes not everything is perfect. You have to adapt and overcome and just figure out how the tools that you have in your pocket work. And then you modify and adjust and you make them work for you. So yeah, this thing has been great. We are up to 172 degrees, so let's go ahead. I want to, we're not gonna smoke tonight. We're going to go more into the grilling temperature. So I'm gonna set it to, we're gonna go to 375. Okay, so on the Pro 34, it stops at 375. And I don't know what high is. I think high is supposed to be about 450, but it doesn't usually get there. I am only on the high setting when I'm trying to bake pizzas on here. So we're gonna let this thing crank up. It's ignited. Now it's cycling through here and the auger is going to go faster, putting more fuel into the fire pot. You can see here, it reacts very quickly. We're getting plenty of smoke out of this. It is 10 till 6. I'm gonna leave that baked potato in there at 375 for an hour. And then we're gonna come in and cook our steak and potato. This video is not about the food, but for the record, if you're curious about this meal, let me know if you want me to go more in depth on it in the comment section below. And if you are not like me and actually have your own family, I'm getting there, don't worry. This same meal is very expandable. Obviously, this is way too much real estate for one guy, but we're doing it anyway when this is preheated, and we're just gonna go forth. Hope you guys are enjoying this. I'll see you here in just a bit. All right. So it's been about an hour and 15 minutes. We got our bacon wrapped asparagus, seasoned in neighbor's flavor, and a little bit of olive oil, and a New York strip from Good Ranchers that has been sitting out on the counter for about an hour acclimating. We'll go ahead, place this feller on there. You always want to make sure to keep the lid closed. We're going to spice up this New York strip with some hardcore carnivore. I love this stuff. I do not pre-season it because it does have activated charcoal in it. And I do believe, they actually say on the instructions here, apply rub liberally just before cooking. I think that charcoal will just suck all the moisture out of it, and that's not what we're trying to do. So, ooh, there's a big chunk. I don't want to waste that. Make sure you get all sides here. This stuff smells so good. This is my new, whoa. Well, there we have it. There we go. So we're grilling today. We're not smoking. We're at 375. You can see the lid went up, went down a little bit. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. We're going rogue today. No thermometer. I'm going to go take care of this. I'll be right back. All right, I want to talk about pellet selection for a moment. So obviously when you're doing an offset smoker or charcoal kind of grill, anything that is charcoal and or wood fired of any kind of combination, you have complete control over what wood you are using to cook with. And so the Pro 34, and I believe all the other self-standing Traegers, do have a door in the back of the hopper for removing pellets, so that if you want to change it out, go for it. I personally have never done this. So I do have my favorites like anybody else. Obviously, hickory and beef, match made in heaven. Pecan with poultry, fruit woods with poultry, fruit woods with pork, pork with anything, because just pork is good. I've never messed with that. I've been using the Pro Blend for a long time because it's just a mixture. It's got hickory, maple, and some fruit woods in it. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm a big fan of that. Maybe sometime I'll try evacuating the pellet hopper to switch to see what that process looks like. But I have never found that to be something that I really desire to do. So we've been rocking Pro Blend. I actually just picked up a new one that I found in Kroger the other day. I picked up a Signature Blend. So, you know, I guess the marketers over there at Traeger are just having a ball rebranding and renaming. That's cool. I've also only ever used Traeger brand pellets. I'm certainly not saying you shouldn't use other brands. They do say that it could void the warranty. I've had no issues with their pellets. The pellets are super cheap. Like I mentioned earlier, this is super efficient. An 18-hour cook didn't go through a whole hopper. That was at 225 degrees, so it was relatively low. Obviously, if you're all the way up in the high range, if you're baking a pizza, you're going to use some more pellets. So there's that. We got some dinner cooking here. I got one more thing I want to discuss with you, and we will hold that until I'm having dinner because I'm hungry. And I'm hoping we get it done here shortly. It is September. All of a sudden, we chewed through another year, and we're losing daylight. I'm gonna have to start shoveling snow here shortly. All right, so it's been just about 10 minutes. I think we're ready to go here. I'm gonna give this just a little bit of a flip while we get everything out here. I got a plate. We'll pull our steak off. We'll let that other side simmer down for a little bit. There's our potato. Ooh. Probably should have put a bit of a toothpick through that. I'm just going to scrape some of this debris down. I'm going to let that asparagus wrapped bacon, nope. I'm going to let that bacon wrapped asparagus in there cooking on the other side while we do the shutdown cycle. So you see here there's our high, we're on 375, and there's all of our temperature ranges. There's our probes that we didn't use today. You have the smoke and the shutdown cycle. We're done. We're going to put it down to the shutdown cycle, leaving it on. Ideally you hit off when you're done. I just happened to forget. Now this is important. When you are in the shutdown cycle, you leave the lid closed. I don't know why. That's just in the instructions, and I go by it. I've only had one error before with the shutdown cycle. I had it on the high heat cycle. I was cooking pizza. I brought my pizzas into the house, and I turned my back. The shutdown cycle, I think, takes 5 minutes. All it does is keep the fan on, and it stops the auger, so it burns all the pellets in the fire pot, getting it down to ash so that there's nothing left in there, so that it starts fresh the next time you fire it up. Well, so I was in the kitchen. I knew my 5 minutes had passed. I turned my head. I was like, why is my smoker still smoking? In fact, there was smoke coming out of the chimney, the lid, and there was smoke coming out of here. There you go. Can you see? So we actually used a decent amount of pellets today. That's because we were at 375. I'm telling you, at 225, if you're actually using this as a smoker, we use this as a grill tonight. So that's cool. I'm sorry, I got a little off track. So I had smoke coming out of here, here, and here. The fan had already turned off. It was through the shutdown cycle, and I went, oh no, what's going on? Did I just lose my Traeger? So I quickly went in the house, and I used my smart home assistant and said, what do I do? And thankfully, she came up with an answer real quick. She didn't just send me a link. And the answer was, just leave everything closed. So I did not have the lid open, but my intent was to do that. But the actual answer, as I found out, was leave the lid closed, leave the hopper closed, and if you can, put something over this. All it's doing is, there's a fire. It is now probably in your auger tube. That's not good. We don't want to replace any parts or, have to actually see if the warranty is good, as everyone who has told me it is. So leave everything closed. Just keep an eye on it. It's going to smoke up everything, and since the fan is off, it's going to choke itself out. Afterwards, just do a quick cleaning, take everything apart, and see if you need to vacuum out excess ash. Mine fired right up, no problem. So I'm very pleased with that. I'm pleased that I caught it in time. I don't know if I had anything open. I was very concerned. That was the only time that's ever happened, and that was after a shutdown cycle on the high heat, which is 450, as high as this can go. So I'm gonna go ahead. We got, I don't know how long it's been, a couple minutes. We're almost through the cycle. I'm gonna let this rest here, and then I'm gonna dig in. All right, guys, check this out. Look at that baked potato done perfectly. You got this nice little cute bundle of asparagus wrapped in bacon. I got this wonderful New York strip cooked to perfection with Hardcore Carnivore Black. A match made in heaven with the seasoning. I'm not affiliated with them. I'm not affiliated with anyone other than you guys. I'm just sharing my experiences with you. And this was fun. I have to say, this was a very fun video to film. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's see how this is. It's not burnt, it's that black seasoning. Mm. 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 It's so good. I really hope you guys try this at home. If you don't mind, let me know if you do. Steak was good. Look at that. I just got some cheddar jack in there. Little fresh cracked black pepper. Dollop of daisy. Mmm. Mmm. No smoke flavor in this, but you already heated up one thing. Just cook it. One of my favorite things ever is this Traeger asparagus. Just do it in a bundle. My favorite part is the flour part. There you go. Cooked on the Traeger. It's a little crunchy. This is just my seasoning and olive oil. $3.75, about 10 minutes. I flipped the steak 4 times. Every time the first side got its second flip, I flipped it 90 degrees so it has this nice crosshatch pattern. I'm telling you guys, the pellet smoker craze is worth its weight in salt. I think that's a saying. It's very versatile. It can be used as a smoker, it can be used as a grill, it can be used as an oven. You can bake on these things. If you only had to have one outdoor cooking thing, what would it be? Let me know in the comments down below. For me, I think it's a pellet smoker. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me this week. This was a fun video. If you don't mind, hit that like button. It doesn't cost you a penny and really helps the channel. If you don't mind, consider subscribing. I'm here every week doing something in the kitchen. So, thanks again. Until next week, be well. Oh.